Hello, most beautiful souls. Thank you so much for your presence. It just never ceases to amaze the channel Peter that when he makes this connection, he feels the love and the joy of you. And that's really what this is all about. This ascension is knowing that you're one and connected. And the moments you feel it are just ultimate bliss. So thank you. Today, we wish to speak of the abundance economy. That's different than a money economy. You guys know, if you have any awareness at all, that we have a debt slavery system in place. And it helps a few people get ahead, but it keeps most of us worried and behind. And that has to fall away. Energetically, it can't exist in the higher dimensions because it's such a low vibration. So, what's going to replace it? And that is the abundance economy. And that is what we wish to speak to you of today. Now, what does it mean to have an abundance economy? The current economic models are built around scarcity, about lack, because there's not enough. And so that is actually put into our mindset. We believe that there's not enough. Now, as we ascend, we're going to move into this place where there is plenty, because there is already. Any of you who work in a garden know that you can plant one seed and get multiple fruits. And when you get good at gardening, you can plant a tree. And from the one seed of that tree, after a few years of tending, you can get hundreds or thousands of fruits every year. That's the abundance of Gaia. That's the place we live. But we've created enough mental sets and enough power trips so that people feel like they don't have access to that. And of course, they don't when you're at that vibration and you're dealing with debt collectors and military forces that steal resources and call it our national interest. So, the first thing that's going to shift is this awareness that we're not in a place of lack, we're in a place of abundance. And if you can just start holding that there's plenty for everybody, that's going to change your mindset. Now, for some of you, it's going to look like that can't be true. And it's going to create all kinds of fear and run up against the mental sets of, I've worked so hard. What do you mean? Everybody gets this, not just me. And you're going to have to move your charges because that's what holds those fears in place. And that's what holds the vibration in place, is that lower energy becomes set in us and then we become the anchors for it. So as you start to expand in the idea that there's more abundance and it's for everybody, it's going to bring up your charges, so clear them. Then you're going to have to start looking about what it means when there's abundance. You see, we use money as a judge of how richly we believe ourselves to be. And if you want to do just money as the be all and end all, then of course it's a perfect system. You know, you got this much money in the bank or this much money in your pocket, then that's how much money you have. And then we make the mistake of saying that's how wealthy we are. But it's not like that at all. That's just how much of this arbitrary system that we've assigned value to that we have. There's many things outside of a monetary system that fill you and feed you and make you joyful. And they have nothing to do with money. And for most of us, even when we're, quote, impoverished, we have that abundance. So what are we talking about? Have you ever walked in a park and noticed that there's tons of blades of grass? Tons of them. And they just grow. Sure, some people tend them, but if they were left untended, they would still grow. But you think, well, what good is this grass? Well, you could lay in it and be tickled by it and go, oh, Feel the energetics of that plant consciousness and maybe even Gaia consciousness. Maybe feel relaxed and supported. Now, the channel Peter, he goes in his backyard. He has abundance of flowers because his wife loves to tend flowers. So he goes back there and he's always amazed at what's in bloom. So he started tending them. And now he watches as the trees blossom and the fruits appear. And he has an abundance of beauty. He has 2 cats, and these cats are super, super cuddly. He has an abundance of love and affection. He'll just sit down and boom, cat will show up and snuggle on the crook of his arm. And he really is grateful. Tells his cat, thank you. You're giving me some lovies now. Now, of course, the cat may think it's getting the lovies, but hey, that's the way flow works with abundance. So start to look at things that just are in your space. And no matter what your space is, you can choose to make it beautiful. Clean up your space. Because as within, so without, and as without, so within. So even if it's in a small trailer that you live in, tidy it. And then notice if that changes your state of being, because it will. And then you may feel lighter and more expansive. And then you might be ready for more space. And whether or not you choose to get more space, you're going to go, whoa, I have more calmness, serenity, comfort, and beauty around me. Because you took the effort simply to clean up your space. So that's the first step, is to be aware that abundance comes in many shapes and acknowledge it. The second thing we wish to speak to you about is flow. Flow. For example, the channel Peter is always so happy when he gets something that he calls free. That's like somebody else buys lunch. It's tastier because it's free. and he does this in many ways. When he walks down the street, he's looking at the ground sometimes and he sees coins and he picks them up. Even if it's a penny, he picks it up and he rubs it off and he goes, wow, free money. The universe gives me money and it's free. And he puts it in his pocket. So he understands free. But we want to expand that concept because free is part of a dynamic. On one end, there's free, and on the other end, there's cost. And as long as you're judging things as free or not, you're still on this whole mindset of, oh, there's cost and you have to pay for it somewhere or somehow. So what if you step out of that mindset, step out of the duality, the 3D heaviness of money, and go into the 5D consciousness of wealth? You will no longer have free or cost. You will have flow or blockages, at least until you get past your duality of 3D, and then you'll just have flow all the time. So what does that mean? Rather than think of something coming to you as free, think of something coming to you because it flows. And if it flows, then that means you've allowed the reception of flow. You've stepped into the flow, and then it comes to you. And flow is a wonderful thing. It's not necessarily a give and take, although there are aspects of that are present. Because when water flows, and if you put an empty jug under a spout of water that is flowing, the jug is going to fill up. Why? Because it's empty. But once it fills up, it will start to overflow. And the flow keeps the jug full, but then it flows out as well. So it isn't always a matter of give and take. See, that's a barter economy, a trade economy. And that's somewhat more refreshing than a buy and sell economy where things have cost and value. But you still don't get out of the whole idea of things have cost and value if you must trade. Oh, somebody gave me this, so I must reply with that. Right? carry my own weight. That's not really where you're headed. You can go further by just allowing flow. And sometimes that flow is a receiving flow, and sometimes it's a giving flow. And it's not like any have to give, because if you have to give, then you're not in flow. You're back in, well, there's a value and there's a price and I have to pay for it. Does that mean you just take? Not necessarily, because when you're in flow, there's so much joy from giving. You know what it's like to go over to somebody's house who loves to cook, and they cook you this fabulous dinner, and you eat this fabulous dinner, and you're just overwhelmed and giddy with happiness, and you say thank you, and they go, no, it was my pleasure, because I love to cook and I love to see you and other people be happy eating what I've prepared. That's just giving. But they're receiving immensely because they understand there's joy when things are given freely. When my giving is an expression of me, then what is created? Joy. So even though the flow may seem like it's going outward, it's filling me, the giver, up with joy. Does that mean you always give? Sometimes, sometimes not. You have to go with the flow by sensing into it and what's right for you. Sometimes you're not in a position to give. You might be in a position to receive. That's okay. Other times, you might understand that flow takes place because everybody is contributing as they can and as they choose. So just for the dance of flow, sometimes giving is very cool. Wow, I helped this flow. So what does that mean? Well, let's use the example of the channel Peter. He offers sessions by donation for those who are trying to get past blockages. And people always ask him, how can they give? And he directs them to all the mechanisms he set up to receive money. But he lets them know every time. Nothing is required. He lets the people know, you are not my source. This is not a job. My job is not my source. Source is my source. And I'm connected to source, so it flows through me. And that often looks like people like you giving me money. That's what he'll tell them. But it doesn't matter whether you do or not, because if you give nothing, he says, I'll dance in the streets and be happy. And if you give me tons, I'll dance in the street and be happy. And they're like, well, how much are you worth? And that's the question we all have to ask. How much are you worth? And the answer, of course, infinite. There's no dollar figure you can put on it. As soon as you put a dollar figure on it, you diminish yourself. You turn God into a small little thing. And come on, we're all aspects of God. We're not small or little in any way. So I can't put a value on it. You know, people say, what are you worth? Well, what do you got? Because you have to give me all of it and then some. That's what I'm worth. But he's not in a power position, and he's not broken on the inside and feels like he needs to amass and collect wealth and power to feel good about his wounds that he's not addressing because he's done his work. Pity all the people who are still collecting wealth and power. He learned that the fun way when he joined AA and was broken, and he would see all these other broken people trying to survive to keep from killing themselves with alcohol, and some of them would be super wealthy, and he'd say, well, how can you have problems? You're super wealthy. And they'd look at him like he was an idiot. Money doesn't solve those internal things. So it's not a sign like wealth is bad or anything like that. No, you could be totally clear and love having money pass through you and have beautiful things and expensive things. And it's quite nice. But it's not requisite. It's not required for your abundance. So if you feel like you receive, the natural tendency is to want to give. And that's beautiful. And you should let that happen. And for those of us who are trapped or stuck, sometimes you have to prime the pump and jumpstart by giving. There's a whole teaching on the planet about tithing. And that was super important for a long, long time because people didn't understand. on how flow works. They didn't understand that when you give, you're putting an investment into yourself by telling the universe, this is important to me. It's so much that I take this treasured thing we call money, I take my valued money and I spend it on giving to this because it's important to me. And as you give, so you receive, exactly 100%. So by giving freely to that which you value, you attract that. And this is where the roots of tithing come from. And for those who have not understood this, then you kind of have to force yourself at first, but I'm poor, I can't give 10% away. And 10% was just something that happened because it was in your great books and it was a good starting point. It can be small or little, your tithe, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that it has value to you and you give it as a sign that you're investing. So if you do choose tithing as a way of giving, understand tithe to that which exhilarates you, which fulfills you, which expands you, which excites you. Don't give because you have to give. Oh, I go to church and this is the way it is. I have to give. And you can give to your church. That's super cool if they support you and make you feel that way. But if you're giving because you have to give, then you're tithing to, oh, I have to do things to get things. And you keep yourself in the 3D money economy instead of the abundance economy. So give freely to that which inspires you and look at it as a sign to the universe, a sadhana, an outward practice of an inward state. I'm giving because I'm attracted to what I'm giving to. And that means it's going to come to me. It's an investment in yourself, quite literally. But don't feel like you have to give. So this is kind of something for you to learn as we move into this 5D economy of abundance. There's no rules about what the value is. There's no, oh, I gave you this, you have to give me that. That still keeps you in that trade, in that numerical system of worth and judgment and power. And you're not going there, you're going to abundance. It's all there for you. Now, I know these concepts are incredible for some. It's like, how can this possibly be? Well, you have to hold the concept, roll it around on your tongue, and then notice the resistance inside you. Those are your charges. Then you have to clear those charges. Then your mind can allow, oh, maybe things just come to me. Maybe I'm lucky. Or as Peter would like to say, maybe I'm in flow. He laughs. He laughs. One of the highlights of his life was in college, and he had a friend. And this friend and him got into a debate. And the general terms of the debate was luck or skill. And he was taking the position of luck, and he wasn't going to let it go. And every night after dinner, for hours, they would argue luck or skill. And at the end of 7 days, their great debate ended when they both came to the realization that when Peter was saying luck, he meant the same thing as his friend Dave, who was saying skill. And this was an early planting in his brain of flow. There's an art to it, the art of allowing, receiving. This is hard for some people. What? I've got the keys to the kingdom, then why am I poor? Well, you got mental sets and blockages that keep you there. And many of them were given to you and handed by a culture of power mongers who want to monger their power. So we buy into it because that's what all the TV shows and all the educational systems teach us. But we're breaking free of that. And that's what ascension is. And you're breaking free of that. So enjoy the confusion of letting that go. That's your process. And understand you're going to this place of it's all available. This so baffled Peter so many times when he would listen to channels and they would say, hey, look, you're in a room full of treasure, just that the lights are turned off and you can't see and you're afraid, so you won't even reach out. And if you could just turn those lights on for a second and just reach out for a second, you would see that you're just surrounded by golds and jewels and treasure and beauty and art. And that's what awakening is. So rather than just sitting back and waiting for the awakening to come for you, we're going to ask you to take some active steps to allow. to start to reframe abundance so it's not a dollar and cents figure on your abundance, to start looking at the opportunities and the possibilities, even the small ones of finding a penny in the street, of wow, things come to me freely. And it doesn't mean that it's free. It means that I am in flow. And when I'm in flow, the whole universe can come to me. And then more importantly, it can come through me, which means I can give, which is its own beauty and satisfaction. And yes, you can do your ego too. Look at me. I made this donation. I'm a cool person. You can do that. That's okay. We're human. But understand that when you do that, you're celebrating the joy and the beauty of flow. So allow it, receive it, give it. And if you get stuck, please go to the channel's website, becomingawesome.one.one. I think there will be links to it. And look on the page on abundance, the tools for abundance. Find what resonates with you. Practice it. And then sit back and receive and enjoy and give. Many blessings to you. Hi, I'm Peter D. Thank you so much for viewing this video. It's such a fulfilling feeling to know that my work is being received. If you'd like to help more people on their journey to ascension, you can do that by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. It'll allow the YouTube algorithm to place these messages in front of more people who are ready to expand and grow. I'm so grateful to be with you. I'm so grateful that you're here and that we all get to do this magnificent journey together. Many blessings to you.